to having fun. But prime example, as long as you've got a good quality line that's abrasion resistant, and you don't have to worry about it rubbing on its teeth and whatnot, that hook will be down in its throat every single time, and real easy to pop it back out and release them. Skip this one. So let me ask you, we're going to talk about gear now. Everybody summer fishes, everybody winter fishes. How much do you guys spend on your summer fishing tackle? $100 on a rod and reel combo is pretty easy, right? Some guys $200, $300. You're doing that in the summertime, but you'll spend $20 on an ice combo in the wintertime. When really, if you're like me, every one of my ice combos are almost more than what my summer combos are. And that's a trend that's finally people are starting to realize that these fish bite a lot lighter. The weather's a lot harsher on our equipment, so you want to have good gear. And spending money in the summertime but not in the wintertime just doesn't make sense to me. So don't cheap out on your winter gear. You want to make sure you have good quality stuff that's gonna last. Now, when we're fishing, whether it be bluegills or crappies or walleyes and whatnot, matching your gear to what you're fishing and the conditions you're fishing is extremely important. Let me just grab this one here. So this was a prototype, so it's a little bit heavier than what I like. We have a lot of shallow water by us. A lot of the walleyes that we fish are in about 8 feet of water or less. That's just the entire depth of the lake. It's basically a flooded marsh. So when we're fishing in that shallow water, would I want to use a heavy rod and braid, or would I want to use a lighter rod and mono? You want to use lighter and mono. The reason being is, fluorocarbon doesn't have as much stretch, but it has less stretch, or it has doesn't have as much stretch as what the braid does, but it still does have some stretch to it. When you're in that shallow water, if you got a heavy rod and you got braid attached and you go and set the hook, you're going to rip that bait right out of the fish's mouth. So we'll go to a softer rod, fluorocarbon line, something that has a little bit of stretch to it, so that when you do set that hook, you've got some give there, and you're not going to have to worry about ripping the baits up. Just on the contrast, when you go to deeper water, everything I pretty much run is a braid, and we're using a little bit stiffer rods. Same with the bluegills, and something with typically I run a barrel swivel and a fluorocarbon leader below that. And when we talk about line, I've tested a lot of line over the years, and one of the things that I found is with that Seaguar Smackdown, it's a really good braid, and what I found is that it's much thinner than anything else in that same diameter. So let's say you're using a 10-pound that's got a 2-pound diameter. The strength of it is unsurpassed. You're not going to have to worry about not being able to land a fish. But with that thinner diameter, we fish on a river system, so we get a lot of current. And one thing with current is if you ever fish in current through the ice, you get loops in your line. And having a much thinner line, you get rid of that resistance. You're able to stay right below you, and you don't have to worry about drilling a hole here for your flasher and drilling down current so you can actually see your jig. So it's something that has a little bit less resistance. But the other thing is, too, with that braid, is because it's so small, it doesn't pick up water and retain the water and freeze your line. So you're not having to get the ice off your line all the time. And then one of the most popular, up by us is that Abrazex. It's a really good fluorocarbon, super abrasion resistance for running on the bottom of the ice and then not having to worry about the teeth of the fish, cutting it up. Barrel swivels, the ones that I use are the Spros, the power swivels, the number 10s are the smallest ones I've been able to find. And then depending on which baits we're going to be using, if I'm going to be using a spoon and I want that spoon to roll and flutter, I want to use something more with a round end. If I'm going to be using a jigging wrap style bait or minnow bait, I don't want that thing to roll as much. I want it to dart. We're going to use something that's not going to allow that bait to roll up. The reason we use the snaps, is find me a minnow bait yet that doesn't break the tails off, and I want to see it because we constantly break those plastic tails off those minnow baits. You're jigging, whether it be a white bass or walleye, sometimes we can only get 1 or 2 fish on the bait and they're junk, so we got a quick tie. And when it's super cold outside, I don't really fish inside of a shack much. I'm pretty much fishing off my snowmobile. I don't want to be sitting there tying baits on all day. Quick clevises, quick clips, and get back to fishing. Preparation, spending a lot of time schooling up rods. One thing I do, I use a lot of inline reels, and just for the simple being of the line twists. You know, when you're fighting big fish, whether it be, you know, you're reeling or the drag pulling stuff off, you're constantly putting line twists in your line, and I don't want those baits spinning down there. I want them in a natural presentation, hence why I use a lot of the inlines. Alright, so we're going to talk a little bit about spoons. Now, when we kind of started off, we talked about bait or no bait. I've been all across the Midwest, Canada, Montana, Wyoming, New York, fishing pretty much anywhere there's walleyes. I've fished it through the ice. And everywhere I go, everybody tells me when I go out with all these guys, you need live bait, or we need minnow heads. No, you don't. If you can learn how to work a spoon, when fish are hungry, they're going to eat minnows. When fish are not hungry, they're not going to eat much of anything. If anybody is musky fished, you know that, you know, when you get musky follows and whatnot, you can have 5 follows and you have a great day. You know, you never catch a fish, but they're looking at your baits. What you're trying to do is piss that fish off enough to make them eat. And walleyes are predatory fish. They will attack something if you make them mad. We have plenty of days where we can set up all the live bait rigs you wanted and not catch a fish. You fish those same fish with a really aggressive motion, super hard, and make them mad, and they're going to eat it. But they won't touch anything else until you make them mad. So one of the things that we do is kind of change up our spoons a little bit, and